you may have noticed that there was no coffee machine downstairs tonight. Well, that's because it was stolen. Who, you may ask, would commit such a heinous crime? We have a pretty good idea. The day before this was stolen, there was a birthday party being held at the cabin. Among the people at this birthday party, there were 5 people in particular. 5 people that had never been to Cabot before until that night. 5 people that all commented that they would love to have a coffee machine for themselves, like the one at the cabin. The suspects are as follows. Miss Juliet Crimson, who works as a lawyer for her own firm. Mrs. Caitlin Black, secretary for Miss Crimson's firm. Mrs. Jennifer Daniels, a beautician who owns her own boutique. Mr. Timothy Crenshaw, a retired colonel in the U.S. Army. Mr. Ray Barnett, a science teacher at Illinois State University. All of them with motive, means, and opportunity to deprive the youth group of their beloved coffeed beverages. Tonight we will interrogate them before you and let you in on this crucial investigative process to find out which of these dastardly looking party guests could have pulled off such a crime. As this video plays, make sure to take notes on who you think did it, so that by the end of our investigation, you can make a guess as to who done it in the cabin.
Well, it's about time. The heat in this stupid room is messing up my hair. It's a disaster.
Oh, it already is. The room didn't do anything about that. So, let's get right down to business. I don't have all day. Name, Mrs. Jennifer Daniels. Age.
Oh, don't read those. The file's just put on the years.
Alright then. I also see that you have a report of an attempted robbery on your record. You care to explain that?
That was nothing. It was just a box of makeup.
That cost over $200.
The price was the crime, and me not having it was a crime. So 2 wrongs make a right, right?
Your adding is a tad off. And you also own your own beauty boutique.
Yes, I do. Well, I just started it. I'm fixing it up, and I just didn't know what the wall's color should be. Should it be blue or lime green?
Ma'am, I don't care. I really don't. What I do care about is everything you did at that birthday party last night. Please tell.
Listen, I heard about your precious coffee maker, and just to go on the record, I didn't take it. This whole thing's a big mess.
Like your hair? Well, the problem with that, Mrs. Daniels, is that there were a lot of witnesses last night that said that you talked a lot about that coffee maker. In fact, that when you weren't talking about yourself or about how drabby the cabin looked, you were drinking coffee.
So what? I love coffee. I came home from work and I was exhausted. I spent all day trying to get the painter to figure out what the color blue was. Do you know how tiring that is? I mean, it's not a crime to drink coffee, is it? I might have gone a little long about talking about it, but it's coffee. Who doesn't love coffee?
Anyway, have you been to the cabin before last night then?
No.
And then did you even know that coffee maker existed until last night?
Well, no, but when I got there, I just fell in love with it. And I thought it would look really good at my boutique with my mini sofa, but that doesn't prove anything.
No, but this does. That is a fake fingernail of yours found at the scene of the crime last night, once we found out that the coffee maker was stolen. But the problem is that after you guys left from the birthday party, we had someone from the cabin leadership come and clean up everything. It was vacuumed, swept, wiped. There was no garbage left in here, and yet this was found only feet away from where the coffee maker used to be.
Everyone wears those nails. They're so popular now. I sell them at my boutique.
So wouldn't that mean everyone doesn't wear them? Well, see, the problem with that is that you were the only one wearing these fingernails last night at your party, so apparently they weren't as popular as you thought they were.
So what if they're mine? Maybe our janitor did a bad job at cleaning it up.
Well, see, the problem with that is that when you left, witnesses said you had all of your fingernails. You weren't missing any when you left.
Okay, so I might have come back to the cabin, you know, after everyone left.
Needed some coffee, did you?
No, actually, I really wanted to look at the seat cushions on the couch. They would just go perfect to my boutique, just the color, but I couldn't tell if it would match because it's kind of brown, but I'm going for more of a tanny brown. You know, to go with my walls, but I haven't figured out my wall color yet.
And the fingernail?
I don't know. It must have came off when I was looking through the cushions.
So you're saying you lost it more than 30 feet away from the coffee maker, but then it was found like 3 feet away from the coffee maker. It doesn't work.
You just have to believe me.
Get used to disappointment.
Wait, do you have any red lipstick? I forgot mine.
Gee, fresh out. I'll get some from the evidence room.
Thanks.
Thank you for your patience, Miss Crimson. This shouldn't take too long.
Good. I have 2 clients to meet with this afternoon.
And I certainly hope I don't have to be here as long as I think I'm going to be.
That makes 2 of us.
So, let's start with What happened at the cabin last night at the birthday party?
Nothing much really. I got there about the time everyone else did, talked for about 4 hours, and then decided to leave. My personal secretary was also at the party, and she took me home. Her name is Caitlin Black. I think I was the first one to leave. I really needed some air. It had been a long day.
So what can you tell me about the coffee maker?
Well, not much. It was pretty good coffee, I must say. I don't think I would have survived the night without it.
Well, witnesses say you mentioned lots of times that you had actually been looking for a coffee maker like that to put in your office for a long time now. You even asked the host of the party if it was for sale, and then when she said it was not, you almost seemed angry, she said.
Well, sorry that I wanted to buy a good coffee maker. And yes, I have been looking for a nice one to put in my office for a while. None of the other ones I've looked at have fit my style. It must have been the shininess. But is it a crime to compliment someone's good coffee?
No, but it is a crime to steal.
What are you implying?
I don't know, what are you asking?
Well, I didn't steal the coffee maker, if that's what you mean. I had some coffee and left first from the party, and I never went back. Nobody saw me leaving the party with a coffee maker in my hands, so that makes me innocent. Ask my secretary, she dropped me off. I would have driven myself, but I really didn't feel like driving my Ferrari to the party.
Well, that might be true, Mrs. Crimson, if it wasn't for this. That is one of your earrings that we found in the parking lot of the cabin after we scanned the whole area for clues. Care to explain how it got there?
I don't know. It must have fallen off when I left.
We haven't interrogated your secretary yet, but in her statement, she says that you were in the car with her on the way home with both your earrings, and you got home and you actually took both of them off and put them in your jewelry box. Would you care to explain how she said that?
Yes, well, my secretary is practically blind.
Okay. Well, okay, let's just say everything you said is true, and you did, in fact, drop it. You were the first one to leave. So that means 20 other people had to pretty much step on it to walk out to their cars. The fact that 20 people didn't see a giant glittery ruby earring on the ground, sparkling in the porch lights. 20 people didn't see that. That's pretty, I don't know about
I don't
that.
know. Maybe I dropped it and people just didn't see it. You should really be investigating my secretary. Caitlin. She makes mistakes in my files all the time. I really do think she's trying to ruin me.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? Well, I'm going to leave now, and why don't you work over your story a little bit because it's not holding very much water in my book. Well, I'm going to get right to the point. How could you steal something so massively important to the cabin? I mean, depriving a youth group of their coffee machine is nothing we take lightly.
Excuse me.
We'll get to that part later. First, let's just start with the basics, shall we? Your name is...
My name is
Caitlin Black. Your age is...
Say another word, son, and you will regret it.
Looks like you have worked for Mrs. Crimson's law firm for the past 5 years, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, but I don't see what that has to do with any
So,
of it.
if you would give me the great pleasure of kindly describing to me what happened the night of the birthday party.
Well, I drove Miss Crimson and I to the party. She didn't want to waste gas driving her Ferrari. So we arrived, we ate some food, had some fun. I stayed far away from that evil woman. And when she said she was ready to go, I drove her home.
So what was your opinion of the coffee maker?
Well, yes, I loved it very much. I had more than a few drinks that night, and I got to thinking that I could really use something like it for my desk. I would really enjoy that, you know?
I'm sure you would, working for someone like Miss Crimson. Well, other witnesses also said that you stopped by it quite frequently during the night and that you were almost standing by it the entire night.
I don't know if I would say the entire night. Why walk away if I know I'm going to go right back for more?
True. Well, okay, let's just skip to the evidence now, shall we? Would you like to explain how we found this? This, I believe, is your necklace. It's got your initials carved right into it. This was found at the door where the criminal entered the cabin to go steal the coffee machine. Would you like to explain how it got there?
Anyone could have left the necklace at the front door of the cabin. I didn't even know I'd lost it.
True, but or you could have just forgotten it after you came to steal the coffee machine and left to go home.
No, that's not it. Okay, you got me. I came back to the cabin after everyone had left. Are you happy?
Happy isn't quite the word. Go on.
Well, Miss Crimson sent me back. She didn't come in. She asked me to go back to the cabin and search around for a jacket she claimed she had lost. So I went to the front door. Strangely enough, it was unlocked, so I let myself in. Looked on the floor for the jacket and in the closet. With empty hands, I left the cabin. I went back to her house to tell her the information that I had not found her jacket. Strangely enough, she seemed quite upbeat and asked me how I'd gotten in. I told her the door was unlocked and, then she just sent me home. I should have said something earlier, but If she gets in trouble, I get in trouble and I lose my job. You understand I was in a very sticky situation.
Yes, I do. But withholding evidence is still nothing good, I can say. I still feel like you're not telling me everything, though.
Well, when I went back to her house, I thought I saw the very same jacket she sent me to look for at the cabin hanging in her closet. I'm not sure it was the same one. I didn't turn around to check, but it seemed very peculiar.
Well, that about wraps things up for me. Thank you.
You have to believe me.
I'll leave that for me to decide.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So it is. You shake it.
I'd rather knit all my own clothes. So, let's start off, shall we? Your name is Mr. Ray Barnett, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
You are 35 years old and you teach a science course at Illinois State University.
Well, that's only partially true. I teach a little science, and engineering and chemistry, but on the weekends, as a hobby, I go searching for Bigfoot.
So you want to tell me what happened on the night of the birthday party, please?
Yes, I went to the birthday party yesterday. I ate the nachos, liked the coffee. Coffee was pretty good. And I talked to a bunch of people, but they didn't really respond. I think it might be the hair.
Can't imagine why.
That's just what I said. I also ate an entire bowl of nachos and also drank some coffee.
You say you drank some coffee. Now, would that be from the coffee machine downstairs?
Yes, it really wasn't like that, actually, I must admit. But I spent more time by the nachos, as I do really like nachos.
I'm sure you do. Well, all the witnesses actually said that you practically stationed yourself by the coffee machine most of the night. And they also said that you even told one of the witnesses that you would really like one of those for your classroom back at the university.
Whatever they say, like I said, it was good coffee, but not good enough to steal. I was more interested in the machine part of it. It really would have worked nice for my classroom at the university.
I see. So would it be safe to assume that you did indeed go back to the cabin to steal it because you couldn't do it before? And would it also be safe to assume that you, with your mind full of knowledge, were able to get into the cabin pretty much without a fault?
No, I never did such a thing. I went home from that party and hit the sack. I was pooped, man. Come on.
Well, then I'm confused. How could you be home sleeping and then leave this at the cabin?
What? Hey, that's my pen.
You see, the problem is that we found this right inside the ground floor of the cabin after everything had been cleaned up. So this only suggests that this was left after everyone left the cabin, which means you pretty much stole it. See, I'll call your lawyer and save you a call because, well, you're not going to be able to call him when you're in handcuffs.
Well, okay, you got me. You got me. Hey, I went back to the cabin that night. What it was to steal the coffee machine. I left the cabin and decided to go to Subway because I was hungry. I needed a snack. Let's be honest, who doesn't want food? And when I got home, when I started driving home, I saw something.
What'd you see?
At the cabin. Well, the only reason I went back, the only reason, was because I thought it was Bigfoot, but it turned out it was just a car, and this thing was speeding out of the lot. Someone at the party had said the party that ended at 9, but it was close to 11, so 2 hours after the party ended, I was immediately suspicious, and the private eye part of me told me to go inside and check it out to see if everything was alright. So I got to the cabin and the door was unlocked. I walked inside to look around to see if anything had been stolen or missing, so I could be the hero and report it. When I didn't see anything missing, I went downstairs to get a cup of coffee while I was there. I was really tired, but when I walked up there to see the coffee machine, I discovered that it was gone. I acted like a normal person would in a high-pressure situation. I ran out of the room at high speeds and must have dropped a pin on my way out. I wasn't really paying attention at all. And I got into my car and started going to report it to the police, but didn't. I thought it would make me look like the main suspect. I didn't know what to do, so I left. I really hope they didn't cause you any trouble.
Well, I'll be sure to let you know when I know that you've screwed something up.
Thank you for your time, Lieutenant James.
It's Detective Spencer. Sorry, Mr. Crenshaw. This shouldn't take too long. Thank you. Alright, well, let's just start with your name, shall we? Your name is Timothy Crenshaw. You are 47 years old. You are a retired colonel for the Army, and you spend your days recruiting college kids to the Army at Illinois State University.
Yeah, it's a nice way to spend my afternoons. It really calms me down. Recruiting people to serve our great nation in the military.
I'm sure it is. Now, do you want to describe to me what happened the night of the birthday party last night?
Might as well. I got there about the same time everyone else did. I had some fun, I ate some food, and then I talked a little bit. And then I left when everyone else did. I didn't steal a coffee machine, if that's what you mean.
I'm sure you didn't, because as we know, when anyone says they're innocent, they really are innocent. Pick that up.
Oh, sorry, Captain. It's more of a habit because there's not a garbage can next to my workstation at the college that I work at.
Funny you should mention the gum wrapper, because the one piece of evidence that we did find at the cabin that links you directly to the crime scene, by the way, is this gum wrapper here. And don't even begin to tell me it's not yours, because I've had people doing this to me all night. Don't even start. And you're actually the only one that did actually leave a fingerprint behind, and it was actually on this gum wrapper, so we know it's yours. Now, would you like to explain why we found this?
Well, I ate a few pieces of gum at the party. The wrapper I could have just left it behind.
Yeah, but you see, the cabin was all cleaned up after everyone left, so all the garbage was picked up, so it was clean and spotless when everyone left. So, would you still like to explain why we still found it afterwards?
I don't have to stay here and explain anything to you.
Oh, yes, you do. Now, should I start handcuffing you now, or do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Wait! Okay, you got me. I had to come back to the cabin later. I just had to.
Uh-huh. So you did steal the coffee machine?
No, I left my glasses behind. I wore them, you see, I wore them during the Vietnam War, and they mean a lot to me. I took them off at the party and forgot them when I walked out. I came back to the cabin later and walked inside to get them. The door's already unlocked. I didn't look to see if the coffee maker was stolen, or if it was still there. I'm just glad to find my awesome glasses.
Well, I'm glad you did too. I really wish I could sit here and squeeze more information out of you, but unfortunately I think I figured out what's going on with the coffee maker.
Really? What happened?
Let's just say we're all going to start getting back together.
We are never
Get up. Please sit down. Where is Mrs. Black?
I'm coming.
Are you all comfortable now? Good. Now, I'll just start with a little story of what happened last night, starting with when you all left the birthday party at the cabin. One of you, I won't say who yet, came back to the cabin and stole the coffee machine, then left the cabin with the machine and never came back. As the perpetrator left the cabin, Mr. Barnett just happened to be driving by and saw the car leave the cabin. Suspicious, he drove into the cabin and went inside to take a look around.
I sure did. I mean, for a minute there, I thought I fulfilled my lifelong dream of finding Bigfoot, but then
Mr. Barnett then wandered downstairs after his brief investigation to grab a cup of coffee before leaving, only to discover the coffee machine
was gone, and I mean gone, so gone that.
Once he discovered that it was gone, he immediately sprinted out of the cabin after accidentally leaving his pen behind. Mr. Barnett then drove out of the cabin parking lot and didn't come back either.
See, I told you it wasn't me. It must have been that Mr. Penthone.
Crenshaw, you moron!
Wait, I'm not finished. After Mr. Barnett left the cabin, Mr. Crenshaw arrived not too soon afterwards. He, however, just waltzed right through the unlocked door into the cabin to do what he said he had to do. He grabbed his precious glasses, and he walked in the cabin, putting a piece of gum into his mouth, and out of habit, threw the gum wrapper on the ground. And that's when we found it with his fingerprints all over it. That was all he came to do, and then he left the cabin and went home.
See, you little punk, I didn't do the crime. The only crime I did was leaving these sweet shades at the cabin.
After Mr. Crenshaw left, Mrs. Daniels meandered her way over to the cabin, and she walked inside and downstairs to fluff her way through the couch pillows for purposes of her boutique. She lost a fingernail without noticing it as she was looking through the pillows. She was so absorbed with herself, she didn't even notice the missing coffee maker in the corner of the room. Once she had decided on the color she liked best, she then left the cabin.
Well, wait then. Where does Mrs. Crimson come in? Did she do it?
Definitely, just look at her face. She just looks like a dangerous criminal.
I am not a criminal. I didn't do a thing. What about my stupid secretary over here?
Did you do it?
Most certainly not. What kind of ridiculous idea came into your head to make you think that? It's Miss Crimson over here that had the most motive.
It's funny though that you should bring up motive, Mrs. Black, because I got to thinking that all the most obvious motives presented for wanting to steal the coffee maker were really stupid. Who would steal a coffee machine just to get some coffee? It didn't make any sense, so I thought of motives a little bit deeper. This brought me to one simple conclusion that wraps this whole thing up rather nicely.
So it's Mrs. Redcoat here.
That's Mrs. Crimson to you.
Miss Crimson never went to the cabin last night. She never even left her house after she came home. Miss Crimson wanted to tell she was innocent, but we still found her earring at the crime scene, and she didn't know what to do, or how to say it got there, because she made it home with both earrings, and she didn't leave one behind because she didn't go back to the cabin. But if she told us the truth that she wore both earrings home, it would make it look like she stole the coffee machine, so she acted like she had dropped one.
Finally, you know I didn't do it. Then how did my earring get there?
The real culprit left it there to frame you for stealing the coffee machine.
Well, who on earth would want to do such a thing?
The only person I haven't mentioned yet, and the only one who has a real motive to steal the coffee machine.
Who?
Mrs. Caitlin Black.
Me? You must be kidding.
Far from it. It actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. You work as Miss Crimson's secretary. You hate your job. Who wouldn't? You must work for one of the worst bosses on earth. It must cause you a great deal of stress. So much stress, you screw up your job quite frequently. In fact, one day you were so distracted by your boss's tantrums that you mixed up a whole file for a murder case she was working on by accident. It was just an accident, but the mistake you made was illegal tampering with a sealed legal file. This mistake could have sent you to prison if no one discovered it before the file went to court. Luckily for you, however, Miss Crimson spotted your horrendous mistake that could have caused a mistrial on one of her biggest cases. But instead of fixing it for you like a friend, she kept the file as a backup and used it to blackmail you. You were about ready to quit your job, but Miss Crimson made sure you didn't by keeping your messed up file to scare you into staying put. You had to get rid of Miss Crimson so you could quit your job. You thought up an ingenious way to frame her for a crime to get rid of her. You came into the cabin last night and stole the coffee machine, making sure to leave one of Miss Crimson's precious earrings behind. What you didn't know was that you left your own necklace behind as you stumbled out of the cabin with the coffee machine in your hands. You even made up a whole story in the interrogation to point the finger at Miss Crimson even more so than before.
Fine. I did do it!
I did not see that
You
coming.
have to come with me.
Did not see that coming.
She's crazy.
And I would have gotten away for it too! If it weren't for you and you rotten kids!
Dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub, and the seal goes ow, ow, ow.